What's going on, guys? So, I'm going to be starting a new series where I want to get people to send in tracks for basically feedback and to also help generate some creative ideas within our community. So, basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take a listen to this beat and then we're going to mess around with it and see what we can do with it to kind of work with the foundation that we already have, but to enhance the idea, to really sort of try to fulfill the idea of the original creator. So basically, we're going to just jump ahead and listen to this. So what I like about this piano part is the way that the rhythms are spaced apart. You have these fills starting on like the and of 2 as well as the and of 4. And I think that that's really interesting because it gives a little bit more of a syncopated feel. I think the negative here is that there's just too many notes. So my recommendation is we're going to strip this down to just one note. That seems like a good starting point. So let's just listen to that real quick. No, I like that for sure, but I think we could also add octaves. Try it below. That's maybe a bit too low, particularly for the sampler. All right, now let's hear it an octave up. To me, that hits a lot harder, to be completely honest. I think we can do a little bit more with it. I kind of want to change it from piano because I think it would actually be better kind of just as some sort of bass. So we could probably just jump right ahead and replace the fruity keys, in my opinion, and just make a bass line. So I'm trying to decide if I want to stick with like the default plugins with Fruity Loops. That kind of feels like the most like sincere, since I think you could emulate this more, because I understand that like a lot of the shit is expensive and like you kind of have to gradually get stuff and you have to be very strategic about what you get when you get it and all of that stuff, so it's important to think about as well. But like I said, let's do a bass line. So let's pull up something from the free stuff from Flex, and then maybe we can do a little bit of sound design with it to kind of spice it up. Now, don't get me wrong, I think piano was a cool idea. I think piano is great, but I think that just like what you have going for you here is the rhythm, dude. Like I think that's really cool. Like I think you should really play off that like sort of like offbeat thing you have going on. I think that's really cool because then when you have your drums come in, you add the stability when you add the actual drums in. So I think that's really cool because then you sort of lock into it more, and then all of a sudden you can feel the interlocking rhythmic changes and whatnot between the two. Let's just kind of mess around. I haven't used Flex in a while, to be honest. I actually recently got a 5-string, but it's a little bit complicated to record some stuff, and I wanted to do something that I thought that other producers could do as well. So I think I've kind of foregone the idea of using the bass, but I did have a bass line in mind. But if we're gonna go the bass guitar route, or not bass guitar per se, but like bass line, we should probably just get rid of the other octave as well. I was thinking like piano wise, octaves are really really good in the low register. You really can't go wrong with that. I would avoid fifths in the low register and just use like the lowest register, use octaves instead. It would sound a lot better. Or a tenth, that's pretty fire too. Okay, I think that also raising this up will be good because we're gonna leave room for the 808 then by having the bass line be maybe a little bit higher, and that's important because, dude, like when you're making your mix, you want to make sure that you're kind of like leaving sonic space in every single like pitch range. I kind of look at it, from the pitch classes like C1 to C2 and so on and so forth, and that's kind of where it breaks up with like your different like 100 hertz, 200, 400, 800, and so on and so forth. Since it would just double, being that it's an octave higher, since the ratio for the frequency is 2 to 1. Let's test that some more. A lot of these sound a lot better now that I have raised the octave. Alright. Now, the next step that I want to do is add some ornamentation to the bass line. I'm going to like slightly stress some of the ones as well. Also, that could be a little smoother. Getting a grace note right is kind of tricky, because I mean you have to think like relative to like the beat, how much it is on, because like this is beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, and then you have to subdivide it however you want for the grace note like duration. So sometimes it can be tricky. It depends on your tempo. Now, the reason why I'm slightly stressing some of these notes is I feel like it gives it just a little bit more weight. And I don't want to increase it so much that you really feel it, but I want it to be like a little bit of momentum. Okay, I'll roll with that. The next thing that like needs to be like fixed, I would say, is the 808s. I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of want to use a plugin that I have for that, but I'm gonna resist the urge. I'm gonna use Flex instead. Obviously, we want 808s. So let's first and foremost, we need to take the 808 pattern that's already existing. I'm gonna go ahead and copy it, paste it into our new 808 track. I like that actually. I think all we need to do is have a little bit of high pass. I like that a lot actually. I'm not sure if I want to keep all of them because it's kind of a lot, but yeah, actually, the thing about this is that I feel like you really can't have both. You kind of need one or the other, you know what I mean? I kind of feel like this, it depends what kind of vibe you're going for. I feel like this hits harder for sure. You're just taking the piano out completely. I know that originally I was saying that I thought that just reharmonizing the piano would be the way to go, but honestly, I think that, dude, the strongest thing going for this is like the rhythm of this, man. Like I would focus on that, and then maybe we can write like a melody on top so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. What I did do to the piano would be a good like approach to like changing the piano line. It's just like in this case, I feel like it doesn't necessarily fit the vibe that I'm feeling with the 808. I feel like that's the true vibe that you're going for here, and I think that that'll hit a lot harder. You know what I mean? Like, because the drums and the 808 sort of more or less will match. Oh, there's actually another thing I wanted to mention that I remembered here, is that something that I like to do, and there's a couple ways you can do this. I really need to start doing it more like this, but what you're gonna do, these little rolls here, right? So what you're gonna do is double click it and then pan one of the middle ones to the left, and then pan the next one to the right. So basically what you're going to do is every single time you have a dig-a-dut or like a roll or like anything, you're going to want to like give it some sort of like pan. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a hard pan like I just did. You could like blend it. It's kind of just up to your taste, dude. Like, at least that's how I feel. But like if I had like a roll that was like really long, you could just pan it percentage wise until it like filtered all the way across the rhythms that you have, dude. That would be sick. It just, to me, like, feels like so much more motion now, and I like that a lot, dude. Like, but yeah, and like I was saying, like, I don't think that the idea itself is bad. Like, I really think that you should just take that bass line here. You should take this bass line and, like, write something else for it. You could still do a similar type of, like, hi-hat thing and stuff, but I think that with the 808 pattern and stuff, like, I'm just feeling this vibe more, dude. Like, To me, this is hitting a lot harder than the other one. Also, really quickly, I want to give the hi-hats a channel. What we're going to do is use the stock plugins, Fruity EQ, 2, amazing. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to do a low pass. And we're going to dial it into taste. So it's nice to do that if you just leave or you kind of like have where you want it to cut, and then you can sort of finally adjust it with your next one. And honestly, a lot of mixing is kind of subjective. I mean, realistically, the most important thing is that you're leaving space for every element that you have sonically in the mix, because it's like everything takes up like some sort of frequency range. And if you're not leaving space, something's going to be left out. And there are ways to kind of bring them out in the mix, but if you're not conscious of it from the beginning, you're going to have a lot more trouble. And I think that if you're working smarter by just being mindful of those things, you can really enhance your mix more, because you're spending less time fixing things and more time like actually making like art, if that makes sense. Additionally, when I add reverb, which we can add here, of course, with the Fruity Reverb 2, and you know, if you just start with a preset, if you're not really sure what to do, it's a lot more straightforward than you might think. But so that is obviously a lot, so we're going to mix it in. And also, I'm just going to change the preset because it's way too much. Your studio won't be good. Just a little bit. Do we ever fill in the clap? No, obviously I like the clap, but we do need a snare as well. I mean, this definitely comes with Fruity Loops. I don't remember which version. I just want a snare drum, so honestly, the rest of the kit doesn't even matter, to be honest. EQ it for the snare specifically. So I'm going to boost the fundamental that I see. Typically, that seems to strengthen the harmonics above it. So I also, the next thing I'm trying to boost is some of the transient sort of noise stuff going on. What I want to do is do a low pass and then dial that in a little bit. And then we'll use this to dial in a little bit of that, sort of like. Now you will see that it is clipping a little bit, so we are going to need to bring this entire thing down a little bit. Another thing that we're going to do is we are going to run the overdrive. Okay, I like that. I like to run my overdrive before the EQ. And then I'm going to add reverb as well. Do a nice tight reverb. Now it is still kind of clipping a little bit. Now I also might try one more thing and run some distortion. Now we're gonna dial this in like from the bottom. Alright, now that I've kind of achieved the timbre that I want, I'm gonna bring it down. I kind of like that it's a little bit more on the wet side for the reverb. Do you want to mess with the 808s, mixing just a little bit as well real fast. Alright, so we are going to first and foremost use this to give us a high pass. Again, we're just sort of being very subtle about where we're cutting, but it's like we're setting some sort of limit. Now, again, I'm kind of looking to potentially boost the fundamental. The attack on this is kind of, I'm also going to do a low pass. Okay, got a little bit of some EQ going on. Try the same sort of deal. Yeah, I want to drive it pretty hard, but I don't want it to go too crazy, because if I don't leave some room for the mastering stage, it's not going to be a good time. Gotta always leave yourself some headroom, man. Okay. I would just like to leave you with like a melody. And again, we're going to just use something that we know we have and use this. And I kind of want it to be more of a warm sound than anything. We're going for like a very spacey one on this one. Alright, I think that I can chop that up and make that work, hopefully. Okay, so orchestration-wise, be honest, I'm a little bit conflicted on whether or not I actually like the sound of that. So I might replace it with, let's try citrus. I love citrus though. I should use it more. I like that actually. Okay. So here is also my proposition. Here is to use some volume automation, specifically on your hi-hats here. We'll use it from the channel. It won't be like completely silent. I kind of want more of that feel for this too. But yeah, hopefully these tips help you, man, and I hope that anyone else watching this can benefit as well. So this is kind of a few general things that I do too when I'm like mixing certain elements, but I haven't really done a whole lot. I just kind of wanted to use the stuff that you would get in FL Studio specifically for this video, just so that you can, make sure that you can actually do it with just strictly the DAW itself. So appreciate you letting me mess with your track, man, and I hope you enjoy what I came up with for you.